Rafay had been driving taxis for 8 years, but nothing unnerved him like the dead-hour shifts between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. The city went silent during those hours, too silent. The streets emptied, the shops darkened, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. But Rafay needed the money, so he drove anyway. That night felt different from the moment he left the station. A thick fog crawled over the road, swallowing streetlights and buildings until everything looked like a fading memory. Rafay's taxi meter flickered twice, then reset itself to 0. He frowned and tapped it, but instead of correcting, the numbers scrambled rapidly like it was trying to spell something. The navigation screen froze, then glitched, turning the map into a blur of static and broken symbols. "Great," Rafay muttered. "Not tonight." He took a new shortcut through the abandoned industrial area, a decision he would regret forever. The place looked like a graveyard of factories, their windows cracked like broken teeth, their shadows stretching unnaturally long across the road. Then he saw him. A lone figure stood under a broken streetlight, the bulb flickering weakly as if trying to stay alive. The man didn't move. He didn't wave for the taxi. He simply stood with his head lowered, his dripping black coat clinging to him like wet skin. Rafay swallowed hard and forced a professional smile, even though he could barely see anything through the fog. "Where to, sir?" he asked. Silence. The passenger didn't answer. He didn't look up. He just sat there, motionless. Rafay tried again. "Sir, where do you want to go?" Nothing. Rafay started driving slowly, hoping the passenger would speak eventually. But every few seconds he glanced in the rearview mirror, and every time something changed. The man's posture shifted slightly. His head hung lower. His shoulders seemed closer to Rafay, but Rafay never actually saw him move. A shiver crawled up his spine. Suddenly, a loud metallic bang hit the roof of the taxi as if someone had jumped on it. Rafay slammed the brakes and gasped. His heart pounded so loud it drowned out the radio static. "What the—" He turned around quickly. The passenger was gone. The back door was still shut, the seatbelt untouched. But the seat itself, the seat was soaked. Thick, dark blood clung to the fabric, dripping slowly onto the floor. It smelled metallic and fresh, as if it had appeared only seconds ago. Rafay's breath caught in his throat. He reached out with trembling fingers, but before he could touch the blood, someone tapped on his window. 3 soft taps. He whipped his head toward the sound, expecting to see someone standing outside. But there was nothing. No person, no shadow, just fog. And then his headlights flickered and turned themselves off. Rafay didn't sleep that night. He parked the taxi outside his small apartment and stumbled out, legs shaking, heart still slamming in his chest. The fog around him felt heavier than before, pressing in from all sides like invisible hands. He forced himself to look back at the taxi. The blood was still there, dark, thick, and somehow shining, even under the weak streetlight. He rushed inside his apartment, splashed his face with cold water, and tried to convince himself it wasn't real. Maybe he imagined it. Maybe he hallucinated. Maybe someone pranked him. But why would a prank smell like iron? By morning, he couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed a bucket, sponge, detergent, even bleach, and marched outside, determined to erase the nightmare. Except the nightmare refused to be erased. The moment he opened the back door of the taxi, his breath hitched. The bloodstain was still fresh, wet as if it had just appeared. He scrubbed it until his hands went numb. He poured half the bleach bottle onto the fabric. He wiped, washed, scrubbed again. The stain didn't fade, not even a shade lighter. Instead, it grew a little darker, like it absorbed the cleaning chemicals. Rafay stumbled back, dropping the sponge. The bleach dripped from the seat in slow, thick red droplets. His stomach twisted. This isn't normal, he whispered. His phone buzzed, a new ride request. He hesitated, but he needed the money, so he took a deep breath, closed the back door, and pretended everything was fine. For the first few minutes, the taxi was silent, too silent. Then the back seat made a faint creaking sound. Rafay froze. Slowly, with dread pulling at his chest, he glanced at the mirror. There was someone sitting in the back seat. A woman, hair tied neatly, wearing glasses, scrolling on her phone, a completely normal passenger. He sighed in relief until the woman suddenly stiffened, her eyes widened, and she leaned away from the empty side of the back seat. "Driver? Why is that man sitting next to me?" Rafay's skin iced over. There's no one next to you, madam." The woman's breath quickened. She clutched her purse, her voice trembling. "Don't lie. He's sitting right there. He's drenched. He's bleeding." Rafay turned the mirror toward her seat. His heart nearly stopped. In the reflection, he saw it. A blurry shape, a dark figure, head hanging low, shoulders hunched, the same silent passenger. But when he turned around, the seat was empty. The woman screamed, "Stop the car! Stop!" Rafay hit the brakes, and the woman threw money at him before sprinting away, not daring to look back. Rafay sat in the driver's seat, trembling, gripping the wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Then the radio turned on by itself. Static, then a voice, a whisper, soft, wet, and impossibly close. "Finish my ride." Rafay's blood ran cold because the whisper didn't come from the radio. It came from the back seat. Rafay didn't want to turn around. Every instinct in his body screamed at him not to look. But the whisper echoed again, closer this time. "Finish my ride." His breath froze in his chest. Slowly, his trembling hand reached for the mirror and angled it downward. The back seat was empty, but the reflection wasn't. In the mirror, a shadow sat behind him, hunched low, its wet coat dripping onto the seat. Rafai's pulse hammered in his ears. He squeezed his eyes shut, counted to 3, and forced himself to look back again. Nothing. Just an empty seat stained with blood that refused to dry. Shaking, he pushed open the door, stumbled onto the road, and leaned against the car to steady himself. The morning sun was rising, yet the air felt cold, too cold, as if someone stood beside him, breathing against his neck. He couldn't go to the police. What would he say? I gave a ride to a ghost? They'd lock him up. So instead, he went to the only place that made sense, the hospital whose name was printed on the bracelet he found under the seat. Room 304, burn unit. The nurse looked confused when he showed her the bracelet. "This patient died a year ago," she explained quietly. "He was brought in from a car accident, then the vehicle caught fire." Rafai's stomach clenched. "A fire?" The nurse hesitated, lowering her voice. "They said it wasn't an accident. Something hit his car, hard. The impact didn't match a normal collision." "What do you mean?" Rafai asked. Like the other vehicle wasn't shaped like a car at all." A chill traveled up Rafai's spine. His hands went numb. "What happened to him after he died?" The nurse gave him a sad smile. "Your brother, he used to say something was following him, a taxi, one he couldn't describe. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw it behind him." Rafai's heart pounded painfully. "A taxi following him?" She nodded again, tears spilling down her cheeks. "He said it wasn't a driver, it was something wearing a driver's shape. And he said when he died, someone else would be chosen to finish what he couldn't." Rafai's air thickened around him. "Finish what?" The woman looked at him with hollow eyes. "My brother, he was trying to expose the thing that killed him. He was on his way to the police. That's why he asked for a ride that night." Rafai's voice trembled. "Expose what?" "The creature," she whispered, "the thing that hunts at night. It uses taxis to lure passengers. It killed him, and it's going to come for you now." Rafai's legs nearly gave out, because suddenly, behind the woman, he saw the reflection in the window. His silent passenger, standing right behind him. Rafai stumbled back, heartbeat thundering as the reflection in the hospital window sharpened. The silent passenger stood inches behind him, head bowed, coat dripping, as if time had stopped the moment he died. But when Rafai spun around, the hallway was empty. Only cold air brushed past him. The sister grabbed his arm. "You need to leave. If it's found you, you don't have long." Rafai didn't argue. He rushed outside, practically leaping into his taxi. The engine sputtered like it was waking from a nightmare, then roared to life. But the headlights flickered on their own. The navigation screen glitched, and on the map, a new road appeared. A road that didn't exist. A road labeled with a single blinking word: finish. Rafai's hand shook on the wheel. "I'm not doing this," he whispered, but the taxi moved anyway. The engine revved itself, the wheel turning with invisible force. Rafai pressed the brake. Nothing. He tried shifting to park. The gear wouldn't move. The taxi pulled out of the hospital lot like a puppet controlled by unseen strings. And then he felt it. A presence, a weight on the back seat. He didn't need to check the mirror to know who sat there. The silent passenger had returned. Fog swallowed the road as the taxi entered a desolate stretch of land. The buildings thinned, the lights vanished, the world fell quiet. Too quiet. Rafai tried opening the door, but it locked with a heavy clunk. "Where are you taking me?" he whispered. No answer. Only the soft drip, drip, drip of blood hitting the floor. Suddenly, another pair of headlights appeared behind him, but the way they moved, jerky, unnatural, too fast, sent a chill into his bones. The sister's words echoed. It wasn't a driver, it was something wearing the driver's shape. The creature's taxi swerved closer, slamming into Rafai's rear bumper with bone-rattling force. The ghostly passenger lifted his head slightly, as if acknowledging its arrival. Rafai gripped the wheel. "What do you want me to do?" The ghost whispered, barely audible, "End it." The creature rammed the taxi again, harder this time. Rafai's car skidded, tires screeching as sparks danced across the asphalt. The other taxi pulled beside him, and Rafai finally saw it. The driver was no driver. Its face was stretched too long, skin peeling like burnt paper, empty eye sockets glowing with sickly white flickers. Its mouth hung open in a silent scream, teeth sharpened like broken glass. The creature slammed its car toward Rafai, steering straight into him. Rafai shouted and twisted the wheel. "Hold on!" The ghost leaned forward, its cold hand resting on Rafai's shoulder. "Drive." Rafai floored the accelerator. His taxi surged forward, smashing into the creature's vehicle as both cars burst into a tunnel of blinding white light, one that wasn't there a moment ago. The crash felt like the world tearing apart. Glass shattered, metal screamed, shadows exploded into smoke, and then silence. When Rafai opened his eyes, he was alone, standing beside his perfectly intact taxi on an empty road at dawn. No tunnel, no creature, no ghost, no blood. Everything was normal. He thought it was over, until that night. At exactly 3 a.m., his taxi door opened with a familiar click. A new passenger slid in silently. Head bowed, coat dripping, motionless. Rafai's breath halted. "Where to, sir?" he whispered. The man raised his head slowly, revealing hollow, endless eyes. "Finish the ride." And the meter reset to 0.